When I woke up this morning quite late, the battery was empty. So I had to take some minutes to get it charged. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to do much here. We need the batteries charged in every order. In family life, in business life, in social life. And my dad just often used a line, I think it was Thomas Merton's line, "Is it by his own power the hawk flies?" It's interesting, we all need a source of power. And the sun, in a way, is an incredible source of power because all of our energy that we consume, I think all of it comes from the sun. Definitely all the foodstuffs is processed light energy by chlorophyll in the plants. And then if we have carbon fuels, they were also caused by the sun. In the different forms of carbon fuels, wood and coal and oil must also be originally from there, isn't it? I'm not 100% sure exactly the formation of oil, but it's probably also I probably learned that once upon a time, but I can't say with certainty right now. I have the impression that it's also a carbon fuel, a fossil fuel. So if it's, I think, does it fall under the category of fossil fuels? Again, I won't affirm too strongly. But we all need a source of fuel, of energy. All the animals depend on the plants. All of the plants depend on the sunlight. Not too much happened since we were here a few days ago, but it will happen little by little as things happen here. Imagine all the places where we gather and assemble, where we travel, the amount of work that went into preparing them. This piece of pipe is here for a while, but also has a lot of work put into it. And a lot of experience making pipes, a lot of people thinking about it, machinery. The abundance of life, the richness of the color, or here colors, because we have in the center of the flower, but it's white. Doesn't it look like that little fellow there of the tree has a red rim around it? It's obviously very small. The little one up there on the left corner there, in the center of the screen now. Amazing. To be filled with wonder, it's an important sense to develop because cynicism and resentment and envy and jealousy, they're all expressions of a pride that sets our ego up to not recognize the other, the beauty of the other, the beauty of the plants, the marvels of what's inside one of those little white little spots there, the amount of goodness, engineering, chemistry. Those major storms can come and they're still there. then another color here. Here you can see the difference of color. We had a dispute over these before. Is the guy still growing here, how they're named. And because I slept late this morning, I don't remember what was the right name. I think somebody gave us a scientific name there. Since we were out for so long doing strolls and chats in different places and different, we did one here recently. We started here, and one person commented, "Oh, we're home. We're home today." That's great. A different type of plant. That's not the bougainvillea we were looking at. It's fascinating today to look at the those creeper ones. It's just they weren't opened yet. There's another one here. And they're going up the tree here. Oh, with the farmer I met the other day, he confirmed that the morning glories are absolute weeds. It's amazing, even the weeds have that beauty. So today's readings here, we're reading them here at the Sea of Galilee, where things started off like a little blossom with this rabbi coming along and inviting people to follow him. This isn't the River Jordan. The River Jordan is not very big, but it's much bigger than this, people. This is just water coming out of the area of the mikvaot, of the ritual baths we have here back there. Somebody asked about this little house. So when we came here, this was a ruin, and we fixed it up. And first of all, it was a residence for the consecrated women. But then when they grew to 5 in number, I think it was no longer big enough, so they needed to get an apartment or 2 adjoining apartments in Tiberias. Say a prayer for them, because one of their apartments is actually going to be taken from them by the owner. They're rented at the moment, and then they need another one. So we say a prayer that the Lord will open up the eyes and the minds of the people needed to see what is the solution and the ability to do it. And then it was used for the interns. We started a program of interns experimentally first, and it was very, very blessed. I'm sure, God willing, that will come back. And then that was in a collaboration with some universities in Mexico. And then we started, that finished all with the corona, right? So the house was reserved in case we had a corona breakdown, we could have complete isolation. And I was the one who was able to take that blessing of having a spot that was completely isolated when I was hit by corona at the beginning of the year. And then I think we're going to start possibly with some volunteers shortly. Or here are the morning glories that we just talked badly about, I think. They're not fully opened yet. They open up totally when the sun comes out. This gate is usually closed, but obviously they were taking in boats and out boats there recently. There was a lot of music coming from here last night, but there isn't a sign of people here right now. There's one person down here. A lot of volume in the month of Ramadan festivities at night time after fasting all day. So let's go to our readings. The readings today are very, very, very wonderful. I love the readings. And I think these readings today are key to identifying more clearly what exactly did Jesus bring to the world. One day I remember a Jewish man said to me, the Messiah is supposed to bring peace. The world doesn't have peace, so the Messiah didn't come. An interesting piece of logic, you know. So I don't know how you would handle that. Well, I'd never heard it posed like that before, so I didn't have an immediate answer that was satisfying for myself or for him. You know, it's not easy to, when you're surprised by questions that you don't deal with on a daily basis. Is that black or is that white? Well, you can say, okay, that's white because my eyes see it's white. You know, is this sand or is this gravel? Well, this is sand. It's not gravel. You know, like back there we saw gravel. Shalom. אתה מדבר עברית. אנחנו עושים שידור חי. אתה רוצה להגיד שלום? איך קוראים לך? שמואל. Samuel, like the prophet. כמוך נביא. כמוך נביא. נביא שמואל. לא. You're not the prophet. נעים מאוד. I think he was a little surprised when I asked if he was the prophet. Like the prophet, you know, the same name. So I wasn't asking if he was the prophet, just if he had the same name as the prophet. But he had a beard and a face that could do very well if you wanted to do a little movie about the prophet Samuel. So what did Jesus bring to the world? Well, the gospel says, I give you peace, my peace I give you. And then we see Saul, who is an ardent follower of Jesus, and he's being stoned. Stoned meaning with rocks pelted at him with the intent of killing him. And actually that's what they thought they had accomplished, and they walked away. They figured, this guy's done, we can leave the scene, mission accomplished. We have stopped this guy from preaching. We have finished this guy's attempts to start a new religious current in this area. We don't want this guy around here. And he got up and he shook off the dust and he went on to Derbe, to another town, with Barnabas and continued preaching. And he was stoned, I think, a couple of times. He was also scourged 5 times. Like, what happened to that guy that he had this nerve to do this? And he didn't hate anybody who did it to him. That's even a bigger deal. Sometimes we need a little bit of elephant skin when people are not nice to us and just like bear it. Oh, there's 2 fish in the water here. Let me see if we can catch them. I will not catch them by hand, but with the phone. I think they're 2 Peter's fish, actually. They're moving away from me now. But is it this stone here, this stone here? Isn't that a pity? I couldn't get them for you. It's not so easy to film through the water and then with the light. Look at that tree there. Isn't that nice reflected on the water? My peace I give you. Then in another line, Jesus says, but I don't give my peace as the world gives it. So what's the peace that Christ gives? What's the peace we crave for? What's the peace we desire? Because if we desire a different kind of peace than the one Christ gives us, then we won't be at peace. Because he doesn't give us that peace. Some people would like to have the peace of the cows. The only thing that's bothering them is a fly and they're sitting down on the field all day or going around foraging. What kind of peace does Jesus give us? I think that's a very important process for us to enter to sort that out, because if we don't have that clear, we will not be at peace. My kingdom is not of this world. So if we want a peace where we have a paradise situation in this world, where we have the kingdom where we can command everything according to our will, we can't have that peace in this world. That's not what Jesus brought. One of the expressions of peace that Jesus brought us is the ability to forgive our enemies. And that actually provides amazing peace in our hearts. The first beneficiary of the person who forgives is the person who forgives. We are the first ones blessed by forgiving. I have to move over here now. The easiest way for me to get out is over in this corner. Just so you understand why I'm going in here. And a parent can be having a very difficult time with a child in 1,000 ways. Little baby that resists putting on the nappies, and the parent just keeps going ahead and puts up with the screaming. And the parent doesn't lose patience. The parent understands that's where the child is at, but continues to do their work peacefully. Or a teacher in a classroom. It can be tiring because there's extra effort involved when people aren't happy with what you're doing for them. But you would still be at peace. The peace that Christ brings, the peace of his kingdom. I'm not going to answer the whole thing for you this morning, because the answer is really an answer you have to reach in your heart to, by experience, look at Jesus and see what kind of peace does he bring. The ultimate definitive peace in every order will be when he comes again. When all evil will be definitively overcome. When we will have risen from the dead. That's the ultimate great victory, the ultimate great harvest, really, since we're talking about harvesting. The ultimate great harvest. Here are these wild oats here. Somebody's telling me there's a difference between wild oats and darnel. So I have to learn a little bit more about that. So today when you're reading the gospel passage again, check it out and see, think about that peace, and think about Paul then, all that he's suffering, because he's not just suffering physically, he's suffering amazing moral rejection. And then he has other areas of questioning and conflict when people are saying they're teaching a different teaching than he is. And I would say he is in deep peace. One of the greatest discoveries I made working with the Shroud of Turin, explaining it to people, was the discovery of Christ's peace at Calvary. Just from some phenomena on the shroud, it led me to that contemplation. And then analyzing the 7 last words, it would be impossible to speak them without the deepest peace in the heart. So, look at what the little bee has tied to her legs. The amount of pollen. All that little creamy stuff there, that seems to be pollen as far as I know. Let's go on the other side. Well, she's gone now. The wonders of nature. So, may these thoughts be of help to you and blessing for a discovery of reaching deep peace and how it happens. And with that, I think for today, we'll say God bless you. Goodbye. Great to have you here. See you later, alligators.